The following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
Hello, and help me welcome Pam Tucker, who's Vice Chair of the State GOP.
Yes, I am.
How do you like that now? You've been active so long, and now you're one of the honchos.
One of the head honchos. Well, thank you first off for having me on the show.
Well,
great to be here again. I know I've been on in the past in other roles with different hats on
that's
my
right.
head. I'm actually really enjoying it. And as you know my history, I'm a fairly conservative Republican when I was in the New Hampshire House. And so there was always the conservatives versus the establishment. And it's kind of funny now because I'm the establishment now. So I don't know who the anti-establishment in the party is, but it's actually going really well. I want to say with Stephen Stepanek in charge as the party chair, myself as the vice chair, and we have Kate Day who's helping out with town committees, as well as all of the the county and city chairs. We're all coming together.
Good.
And when I say we're all coming together it's kind of gelling all together finally. You've got the conservative wing of the party, as well as the moderate wing of the party, as well as the libertarian wing of the party. And we all are looking at the same goal and know what we have to do. And rather than doing the circular firing squad, we're actually doing something good.
Are we going to be like
together.
2010?
I would love it if we were like 2010, but
it's a little different now.
It's very different. And in the course of, the past 10 years, politics has changed so dramatically. You see it in the rhetoric out there and the vitriol that's going on. It's amazingly different and very uncivilized, unfortunately.
Well, what can you tell us about your plans and what you're doing?
I'm doing a lot of things now.
Okay.
Well, now that it's almost September in 2 days, I'll try and get off the beach and back to work a little more. As many people were on vacation. We're working hard to win in 2020. And that's from the top down. And this is no secret. Obviously, President Trump is a huge factor in terms of he needs to win re-election. New Hampshire is definitely in play for him. We saw that with the rally a couple weeks ago. So we want to win from that. Chris Sununu, the U.S. Senate race, the U.S. House races, all the way down to our local representatives. We want to win. We want to take back the New Hampshire House and the New Hampshire Senate. And we're working in that direction.
Well, I think that New Hampshire has really worked fairly well over the last few years, and we want to continue that. And from what we see with how the governor's reacted to a lot of the so-called progressive legislation that got through this time, we got to get the Republicans back in at the majority.
We do. There's no question about it. And Chris has been great in terms of his vetoes, some of this crazy legislation, and the budget. We don't need to dwell on that. The major papers do that well enough for us. But he's smart. He's thinking about the people of New Hampshire and the businesses, and the businesses are the engine of who employs people here. It's our businesses. And he knows that it's important that we help them in terms of keeping the taxes low for them so that they don't have to pass these on to consumers or have to cut positions, which would cut unemployment. And speaking of unemployment, we have 2.5%? Do we know when the last time it was that low?
Well, what about the number of jobs that haven't been filled?
Yeah.
That's amazing. I mean, the people want to hire another, 10,000 people?
Yes.
And they can't fill them.
It's amazing, and I am so grateful for this economy and what President Trump and Chris Sununu have done for New Hampshire, in that I'm going to give away my age a little bit here, but back when there was stagflation and I was a teenager, I couldn't get a job to save my life.
Right.
There were no jobs available
Right.
because if you remember, the unemployment rate was through the roof. I remember my mom, we did a bond and a CD, and the rate was 17% on a 6-month CD.
Right.
That's incredible. Of course, I was young at the time. I didn't know, but she was taught me a lot about finances at that time. But we couldn't get a job as kids. And now my 3 girls, from teenagers up until the early 20s, they all have 2 jobs plus babysitting
Really?
on the side because everybody needs them.
Yeah.
And it's skilled, unskilled labor, and none of them are paid minimum wage. Let me tell you, and they're all getting $10 an hour for doing a basic entry level job because there just isn't enough people out there for all of the jobs, and it's wonderful to see it like that. And I would like it to continue. I mean, it may not stay at this level, but it certainly would love it to continue and not be back where we were during the Carter era.
Are there a lot of people that just aren't voting, or do they think they're more excited about this election? What's your feeling?
I get the feeling that there's a lot of enthusiasm on both sides. There's no doubt. Certainly on our side, it is all consolidated with the president. That rally was a great showing of support. Were you there?
No, I unfortunately wasn't. I had something else that I had a birthday present to give away my age. We watched the Beach Boys.
Oh my gosh, that must have been so fun.
Oh yeah.
No, but I was there. I spoke, but we won't get into that. The energy in that crowd was phenomenal. It really was electric, and it wasn't just the music. It was everybody there having a great time, all like-minded, of wanting freedom and liberty and low taxes, and they're there because Donald Trump delivered. And you think about presidents and delivering on what they campaigned on. He's one of the few who's done that. And so the people there are there to say thank you to him. And I feel that these people are energized. And for what I see on the local level, people are very energized.
Good. Well, I hope that we get the vote out, because at the last election, we didn't get enough Republicans out.
Well, midterm elections, as you know, tend to be a little less in terms of people coming out to vote. And always midterm elections, whatever president is in power, the opposite party always seems to take more seats, whether it be on the federal level or even on the local level. We obviously were victim of that. But even with that, what we don't want is to turn New Hampshire back to where we were into the years of 2008, a good 10 years ago, where we're selling one piece of highway, $40 million to another highway to bond it, even though the state owned both, just to raise money because there was no money out there. We can't go back to that. We have to do the fiscally responsible thing that we've been doing for the past few years with Chris in there and with Republicans in charge of the House and the Senate.
Well, are there groups that you've put into place to help you reach your objectives?
Well, we're working with everyone, as I opened with, of talking to everyone, because we have the same goals in mind. And it's more than just a group's goal. It's really what the Republicans represent and the people of New Hampshire, and what are our goals and objectives. And you know what? They're pretty much the same thing. As Republicans, we are for free markets, we're free enterprise, we're for individual liberties. All right. With that.
And balanced budgets.
That's fiscal responsibility. But that's important.
Well, it is.
It is. You can't spend money you don't have.
Well, you're not supposed to.
But above and beyond that, there's other things that we want the best education for our children. And I don't know a person in New Hampshire who doesn't want the best education for their children. And we want to fund that and support that. We want great roads. I don't know any person who doesn't want great roads, Republican, Democrat, but Republicans want great roads too. And we want safe neighborhoods. New Hampshire's a very safe state to live in. And thank goodness it is. And that's one of the reasons I'm raising my children here. So those values, and we want families to stay together and happiness for everybody. We want everyone to prosper. Those are the exact same goals and dreams of most people in New Hampshire, I would think. And so we're no different, and we don't have horns. and we've been demonized. I get that, but you got to get away from all the rhetoric and all the name calling and really sit down and say, well, what do Republicans really want? And we want the same thing that everyone else wants.
You've been told that we haven't done something that people think we should be doing? I mean,
in terms of messaging?
Yeah, I mean, are you getting any feedback and negative feedback from our past activities? I was just wondering from that standpoint.
Well, the feedback you get is this: we haven't really gotten our message out there strong of what we just talked about of what do Republicans stand for. And if you listen to the socialists on the left, you would think that we are demons. And what we need to do is counter that with actions, not just words and not just a bunch of adjectives that are thrown out. We can show that we are for those things. And you see it with the budget. I mean, that's a great example of responsible budgeting and making it good for everybody, of helping the people who need the most help. That's a great example. And Chris Sununu is right on top of that, of putting money aside for the roads. Those are things that we as Republicans need to do. And that's the role of the state government.
Mental health in school.
Mental health is huge. Our schools are huge.
Those are the three things that he's focusing on.
Yes. And having the best education means that not every child learns the same and can learn in that same environment. And so giving the parents the freedom to provide, to get that best education for their children is paramount to our message, because I don't know one parent who doesn't want that for their kids.
Definitely.
So some of the other things that I'm involved in is Women for Trump movement. And this is relatively new. A week ago, Thursday, across the nation, there was a meetings all over. We had
saw that you did get publicity out on that.
Yes, and we had a few here in New Hampshire, and we signed up across the nation over 4,500 new women.
Oh, really?
To get out and help support President Trump. And I think it's kind of significant with the month that we're doing it in, because on August 26th of this year was the 99th anniversary of women's suffrage. Well, you know who promoted that? Republican women, even 99 years ago. And so it's important that we get out there and we exercise that right to vote. And that's what we're trying to promote, and the values of what President Trump has done to help women. And he's done a lot of great things. I mean, you see what's happening in the economy. That's significant. You know, there was over 5.5 million jobs that have been created during his administration. And of those, 57% or 3.2 million of them went to women. Now, the socialists would say, well, they went all to minimum wage jobs. Well, I just told you, my kids aren't working for minimum wage. But above and beyond that, during his administration, 600,000 women have come out of poverty. Now, that speaks volumes, that we're really trying to raise women up on the economic
give them a
ladder.
hand.
Yeah, give them. Yeah, you know, you give them a hand, but you don't give them a net, right? Yeah, or not a handout. Yeah, and that's what's happening is getting the economic freedom for women to do what they want to do. Now, President Trump has on his agenda, and if he gets reelected, that he's looking at putting a family leave program together on the federal level. Now, that will really help a lot of middle-class people.
But our approach seems to be a little bit different than the Democrats' approach. They want to get one thing that everybody has to have, and they don't have any choices.
One size fits all.
Yeah, it never fits.
It doesn't.
It never fits.
No, it doesn't.
You have more misfits than you have fits. if you can say that fast.
That's very true. And education is a great one to start with, because kids learn differently. Healthcare is another one. It isn't one size fits all. Everyone has different health needs. I mean, you don't probably need to have child care protection or something for children in your policy. Whereas I do, and we can go on and on about different things. And I understand how insurance pools work, but who should be determining that? A bunch of bureaucrats down in D.C.? or locally people who are going to be paying for it?
They should look at it just to make sure nobody's cheating.
Exactly.
They're the cop out there. They don't set the regulations, but you don't have the government setting too many regulations, because then you stymie half the people that you're trying to help.
Well, I agree. And there is a role for government,
Right.
and we do need it, because you're right. We don't want people to cheat. And we want because we'd like to think everybody's all hunky-dory and no one's going to cheat and lie and steal. Well, if that was the case, we wouldn't need police, right?
Right,
And we wouldn't
right.
need the military, because everyone in the world would all be singing Kumbaya together. We know that doesn't happen. And so we do need a government role there to help protect us and protect us against the bad people, if you will, and against us being taken advantage of.
So they're going to have more women out there pushing Republicans, or how are we going to do?
Yes.
What are you going to do with all the women that are going to join up?
Well, we're going to get out there and promote why President Trump is good for women. And I do take an issue to the fact that there are a lot of female Democrats out there, and they think they own the voice for all the women in the country. They do not. They do not represent me. I have my own voice, and I can think for myself. And I can honestly say I don't believe what AOC believes in.
Right.
I actually do know how a garbage disposal works. It didn't scare me. I shouldn't go there. That's mean. But she doesn't represent my values and my family's values. Yet, she is the spokesperson for women out there. And she represents, half the women out there. So we need to get more women out there talking about what the Republican Party is about for women and how it benefits women as well.
Yeah. Well, they seem to think that there should be just one belief for all the people in there. We do a good job, Republicans do a good job in just having a number of different factions working together. Once they see how you can do certain things that are most important if you all work together.
I agree, and we are doing that, aren't we?
Are we? Yeah. Are we going after some of the other, I guess you might call them political? I don't want to call them political groups, but they're groups that have, maybe they're ethnic groups, maybe they're religious groups, maybe they're whatever group.
The silos.
Yeah.
The different silos that people have been put in. Well, we look at people as individuals and not as just as particularly as groups. And I think when we start getting the message out there, and we're seeing it, I don't know if you're on Twitter at all, but it isn't all old white men anymore.
No.
It really isn't. And what's interesting, and you look at the Republican Party and who gets things done, and I'm not disparaging anybody, but there is a lot of very active women within our party. So. We have the National Federation of Republican Women. Right. We have the Seacoast Republican Women, whose Chili Fest is next Saturday, the 7th. These women have been very active, and there is a lot of them. I just need to get them to run for office.
No, I think that's good. I enjoyed working with everybody up there while I was in the legislature, and there's some, but I'm not sure how. There's still a large group of them that are sitting back and not getting active. I think we just have to make it more comfortable for them. I'm not sure what holds them back. Is it other things they are interested in? Of course, this is one of the reason I've been in it so long is that this is really where it counts. This is what controls our lives. This is what makes it easy or hard for us to exist or enjoy life.
Sure, and because it's, how much money we have in our pocket to spend, how much regulation is out there if we try to buy a house or buy a car, and what is it going to take to do that? Open a business. My goodness, all the paperwork on that. We have to ask what is necessary on all of those. But in getting back to reaching out to people, it is all about messaging. And it is like shows like this of getting out there and letting people know that we do represent everybody, and it's nothing new. That's who we've been. One of the bigger factions of the Republican Party that's really coming to be bigger and bigger is the log cabin Republicans. And they're Republicans. They have their own little agenda, but you know what? Their bigger agenda is the exact same agenda as we have of liberty, freedom, and low taxes and balanced budgets. Very fiscally conservative people, just like you and me and everyone who balances their checkbook at the end of the month, right?
That's right. That's right. Well, I'm looking forward to this. Do you think that what's coming up on September 18th, 19th with the vetoes and the budget revote is going to, I don't know, highlight the advantages of the Republican Party?
I think it will, because when we talk about why he's vetoing some of these bills and the reasoning why, and he's not doing it to be spiteful, he's doing it for the people who elected him. And we can go through every single bill, but the bottom line is it is for what's best for the state of New Hampshire and the people, not for one particular group here, there, or anywhere. There's no favoritism. He's doing what's best for the state because he wants to keep the state in good fight, in the black, not going into the red and spending money that's one-time money or money we don't have. Or
That's right.
remember when we had gambling revenue and gambling wasn't even legal in the budget? Boy, I love some of the creative financing that the Democrats have done in the past. And, you know, I haven't scrutinized the budget this time because I'm not in the House anymore, but I believe that Governor Sununu is doing the right thing, and the New Hampshire House, I would hope that they don't overrule any of his vetoes. He's doing it. A lot of bills have passed, too. It's going to be over 55 that he's vetoed, but think about all the ones that have passed and have gone into law, too.
Yeah, there's a lot of good ones, and now they just have to balance the budget with the funds, and so hopefully that goes through too.
Oh, I think they will come to a compromise. And you know, I was reading the paper the other day. Chris said that they put some things out there, and he put some things out there, and this is how it works. It's like sausage making.
I thought he a couple, whatever it was, when. I think Governor Sununu was down here talking about the state of the state in Nashua, where he said, look, what we're trying to say is this is the money we have to spend.
Yes.
We can't spend any more. So given that, how are we going to cut off, how are we going to take care of that difference between those numbers and the numbers that you like to propose, talking to the Democrats? Do you think he's going to be able to convince them that to just chisel something off of everything?
It's got to happen. As you know, you have X amount of dollars on every month or every 2 years as our budget is. You cannot spend this much more if you only have this much, because then we can't do deficit spending here. We can't. And Governor Sununu, is very pragmatic in that. And I think his counterparts in the Senate and the House, the Democrats, need to understand that's how most people do it. And you can't just go say, well, it's an unlimited pocket to go out there and take more money from the citizens of New Hampshire, the taxpayers, because they want to fund some special pet peeve project of theirs. That's not fair to the people of New Hampshire who elected them. They need to stay within their budget.
Well, I think a lot of the candidates, or even people who are holding the offices now, should be more vocal in talking about this now. Now's the time to say these are the things that we should be doing. These are the things that the people need to be able to have a good life in New Hampshire.
Yes, and we have a good life.
Oh, yeah.
Let's not mess this up, right?
Well, I hope so.
Yeah, I mean, there are going to be economic downturns. We know that.
Yeah.
There's every economic cycle. Is it going to happen tomorrow? No. I think that the Democrats, socialists are praying for one to win an election. I mean, they want the economy to go back.
That's why they're upping the tax rate. You want to get the money now before we have the
But then
no
we'll
money
have to
coming
spend
in.
more because everyone's unemployed. Now we have to spend more money. And so at what point do we end? Because at some time you're going to run out of other people's money. I mean, that's Margaret Thatcher in a nutshell.
Maybe we got to focus on they're the team of gloom and we're the team of happiness or something like that.
No, I have a very optimistic outlook.
Well, I know you do, but I'm just saying that I think we got to go out and put the shine on our projections.
Well, we do, and we all should be talking more about the positive things. You don't hear any of the Democrat socialists talking about what a great economy this and how wonderful it has been for not just women, but for minorities, for kids, for everybody. This is, the rising tide raises all ships. But all we hear from the left is doom and gloom. It's, the world's going to end tomorrow. The oceans are going to rise 20 feet. No, let's be the party of good news.
I know we get on climate control right now, but that's one of the things that frustrates me. It's sort of like every 15 to 20 years, we get this doom and gloom. We did it in the 70s. We did it in the 90s. Now we're doing it in the teens here. You only have 2 decades left in your life.
Yeah, we're down to 12 years,
well,
maybe 11 now.
If I get 2 decades, I'll be very happy.
Yeah. Good point. But the climate thing is that I truly believe that Republicans are environmentalists. I mean, I conserve, reduce, reuse, recycle everything. And I am shocked to know, not to know that none of my daughter's friends ever recycled their plastic bags. And I recycle everything. And I went to another meeting and there's another woman and who is the bigger recycler and energy saver, because I hang my clothes out. And she goes, I don't even own a dryer. I mean, but that's who we are. We're conservatives and we conserve and we conserve energy. And that's an issue we as Republicans really should take a hold of because we are the stewards of the environment. And we know that.
We're doing better without these so-called regulations that some people want to put into effect. You can't completely get rid of automobiles or gasoline. You're going to have a nuclear reactor running every car, or is it going to have super-powered?
We'll all be the electric cars soon enough. But the government should be doing it. The free market is doing it, and it's going to happen.
That's right. You don't have to. I mean, I think what Trump has done for the regulations is terrific because that's what causes problems.
It's regulation, paperwork, red tape.
Well, let's hope that we can turn it around and see what this election next year is going to be.
We will.
Okay?
Well, thank you for having me.
Thank you very much, Pam. And we'll have you back.
Would love to come back.
Okay. Later on when we get started in 2020.
You got it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
The preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.